So, on to the last album on our list today, Manic Street Preacher's 15th album, Critical Thinking, a record that, it has been observed, sees the Manics at their most Manician. It's getting some brilliant reviews, and it has got everything you could want from a Manics record. Colossal melodies, lyrics, pumped full of heart and passion, and music played with the kind of dynamism that comes with a lifetime of experience. I was lucky enough to speak to Nicky Wire from the band this week to talk about the writing and recording of the record, where the Manics are right now as people, and what they mean to their audience, and he picked some of their favourite tracks. So here he is.
Six Music, 6.
New album fix.
The reviews have been really good. The reviews have been really, really good. Tell me a bit about how it must feel having another record rapturously received, I guess.
You know what? It's still something, but I'm still something of a dinosaur. We are in terms of radio play and reviews. So just still means something to us, because it's what we grew up on, and said a few times. But you get a stat thrown out to you about a track that's at 80 million streams or something, but it's not the same as you and your track on the record or getting a good review. And it to still feel part of that culture, that tactile culture, is still really, really thrilling, especially at 15 albums in. I think this album does have a peculiar energy for 56-year-olds in that it is pretty energized. It's got something, it's quite an awkward record to make, and perhaps that's a good thing, because it's got a particular kind of energy that perhaps we haven't had for a while. And
why does it have that energy, do you think?
Well, my theory, as someone who does like a theory, is just that we're all at slightly different spots in life, and we don't align quite as correctly as we did when, you can't be the last gang in town forever, can you? So my kids are grown up and they're on the verge of sort of moving up. James is still in the middle of having young kids and stuff like that. And, whether it's socially or politically or wherever, you just, you kind of diverge at different points in your life. And also just, we're lucky enough to have a studio, a really great studio we built ourselves. We all live within 20 minutes of it. Sometimes if someone's not available, you just pile in and get on with it.
I think there's also that thing, and it's a really nice stage. And I think you as a band have been there for a little bit, is when, because bands are about momentum, but there's also a point, I think, when you've got to go, we know exactly who we are, and we are totally comfortable with that. And, I mean, the obvious reference is kind of like Bowie's last two records, when he was like, yeah, that's the drum beat from 5 years. So what? I wrote it. I'll stick it in there. I can do whatever I want. And that was, like, refreshing and surprising and gives you what you love, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I've always been a massive believer in aesthetics, that there's a certain like when The Cure came back last year, it just felt like they were there, backed, fully formed. That is their aesthetic. And obviously, they veer in different positions musically and that, but it's still, you're buying into an aesthetic. And our generation, I think, we're lucky to have so many bands like that, where you bought into something bigger than the actual song. And I think we've been lucky with that, and we've taken out some fans have come with us, some have gone and come back, some have never come back. But I think that there's a certain sense of aesthetics which is really strong within the band, and sometimes you really panic about that because you think you're alienating people or you've lost your way. But you just kind of gotta keep it.
Before we do the record, tell me about if I came to visit you in the studio, if I came to say you invited me along during a session for this record. First of all, what time of the day do you want me to turn up? Is a good question. What should I bring with me? Like biscuits? What atmosphere would I find when I went in? Kind of paint the picture of a visit to the studio, and kind of what's it like, and what would I find?
You wouldn't think so, but it's very bucolic. It's only 3 miles out of Newport, and but it's in between Newport and the old Roman town of Killeen, which was really, I think, is the third or fourth most important Roman settlement in Britain. It's got an amphitheatre. It's a really nice place. But you're caught in between the industrialisation of Newport and the bucolic kind of countryside. It's only, for me, it's literally a 15-minute drive from home as well. So you'd find it very, very relaxed, unless we're having an argument, which we still do. We just end up being incredibly abusive to each other.
I like that, though. That's important. That is important.
You need a safe space to be nasty to each other. You just have to. But we've known each other so long. Those things, as you said, they don't really matter, and it's all centered around culture or wherever, what we're watching, what we're listening to, sport, wherever. You'd find a lot of crisps in the studio. You'd find really good coffee, a lovely pot of coffee on, which the smell just infuses the place. There's a lovely fig trees outside, so we could do you a melon, and James could do you a melon parma ham fig salad.
This is nice. I'm liking this.
And it just to be honest, everyone there's a brilliant chippy down the road, which we only reserve for guests we like.
It's a funny thing, isn't it, as well? You've got that like, I don't know, when you're younger, I think you imagine that like, oh, the best records kind of happen after 2:00 in the morning when everyone's in a set. And then you grow up and you realise that lots of the best records were made by people going to work, getting the job done. Like, this happened at 2 PM because that's when we put in the hours,
That's the most important thing, I think, as you get older as well. It was, James was very much a night owl, pushing through just guitar parts more than anything. Me and Sean have always been kind of prime time early birds in terms of recording. But now, the classic Neil Young quote about just find a chord and dig in. And as you get older, the joy of writing songs. And I love writing lyrics. I get offered to do loads of stuff, but my primary concern, I just love writing words and within the context of a song. I really think it's an underrated task within music in general. I love doing it. And there's that great quote by James Baldwin when he says, I've seen a lot of talented ruins, but you need discipline and luck and hard work. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but yeah, and it's 100% true, that talent is really important, but there comes a point where the work for us is the new fun. I mean, there's nothing more enjoyable than creating something in a studio which you think is actually communicating what you're thinking.
And you still love it because we're dropping lots of artist names, but there's that, you still love writing lyrics. There's that heartbreaking, I can't remember what the documentary was. There's Pete Townsend today kind of going, I'll go down and I'll sit at my beautifully expensive piano in my beautifully expensive studio, and before I've played a note, I'm thinking, I'll never write anything as good as Love Reign Over Me ever again. And he's like, and I know that, and I'm okay with it because I know it's the truth, but I'm not okay with it. But you still love it as much. You're still like, the heart is forward facing when it comes to writing lyrics still.
It really is. And I think, luckily enough, because the band we're quite a strange band, as you know, in terms of who writes what and how we write, and I write a lot of music now. So I discovered songwriting pretty late in terms of the musicality. Your Love Alone was the first thing really that I kind of came up a worthy sort of song.
Good tune.
Exactly. So my songwriting is based around a totally sort of quite naive process because I'm new to it. And likewise, James has written a lot more lyrics. I know Sean will come up with a Rock the Casbah at one point, like Topper did. We all sort of jump on different things at different points. Obviously, at the start, me and Richie were just lyrics. So I think that's helped, obviously, with Pete. He does everything. So, that's a big burden to look back, in terms of comparison. But yeah, we're still searching for I think we've written a couple of near perfect songs, but you're still searching for, when I wrote Hiding in Plain Sight off the new album, which I wrote all the music and all the lyrics in an hour, and I just, sometimes you have a lyrical flow, which for me determines everything. And I just had these lines, keep the curtains closed all day, and everything was just swimming around and unfolded sort of into itself. And there's not many greater feelings than that.
What should we play next? And as I say, you can pick maybe something that wasn't a lead track or isn't out yet. Where should we go?
Well, I love Being Baptized, which James wrote the lyrics for about a day he had with Alan Toussaint. And his mum loved Alan Toussaint, and James, I think it was Holy Cow that his mum loved, and James loved the Glenn Campbell. Is it Southern Nights that he wrote?
It is, yeah.
And Glenn Campbell made it. Yes. So James was in this songwriter's circle. It was him, John Grant, and Alan Toussaint, and they had this magical day. And James was
Back up a minute. How did that happen? This is like, you can't just toss off names like that in like, and yeah, John Grant and Alan Toussaint. How did that happen?
I think it was a BBC 4 thing called the Songwriters Circle about probably 15 years ago. And I remember watching it, and James is doing faster. I am an architect. They call me a butcher. Alan Toussaint, kind of impressed, but a bit like, that's a strange kind of lyric. And I think he said, James was asked, it wasn't long after Katrina and New Orleans, and I think Alan Toussaint had said something that along the lines of, we didn't know if we were being drowned or baptized, a kind of about the floods and all that kind of stuff. And it's obviously stuck with James because it took him a long time to write the words, but as soon as he played it to me, it was just, I thought, James, I don't have that much humanity to write a lyric like that. It's so glowing and warm, and we played it together, and it came, I think it was Sean's second take on the drums, and it's beautiful hi-hats and just springy, charming guitar like Johnny Marr or the Pretenders, and I actually really put a shifting on the bass on this as well. So yeah, it's just came really quick and natural after 15 years of percolating James on the lyric.
You sound really, really, I've spoken to you a lot about records over the years, and you've never not been proud, but you sound really, I don't know, yeah, there's a vigor in your conversation when you talk about these songs, I think.
Yeah, I think we actually, after halfway through or towards the end even, we just realised the energy on there. And the worst thing that happens when you get old is you play slower, you act slower, you write less words, and, you think you're being classy. And I've always thought we were a mixture of a bit of high art and low art. And, you don't lose the low art, because sometimes you just need to sound like you're having your version of fun. To other people, that might sound a bit, oh, it's just them going on again. But I know ourselves and our fans, that kind of vitality, it appeals to people, and there's not many other people doing it, certainly not of our age. So we're I think we worked out the other day, it's either 380 or 480 songs we've written. That's a lot of songs.
That is a lot of songs.
Yeah. So to keep, as you said, still have that sense of vigor and, immediacy, then we're kind of pretty, don't like using the word proud really, but we're still proud that we've got that edge to us.
Where should we go next? Pick another track.
Well, there's a track called Deleted Scenes, which when we really thought this was the one, early doors, and Jim's absolutely, I was really happy with the lyric. There's a line in there because the ecstasy of making things worse seems to have become a worldwide curse. And I just thought, oh God, no one's writing stuff like that. And there's lots of lines about the power of self-destruction on social media and the temptation to kind of end it all digitally. And just how kind of you're measured by graphs and stats and collaborations, and just how everything had sort of collapsed when I thought, we had built these castle walls dimensions in it, but they quickly collapsed. And it just reminds me of when James played me, I just sort of, I don't know, Voice of the Beehive or the Bangles sort of, or Strawberry Switchblade, some sort of 80s sort of alternative pop, but which was just bang in the mainstream, when it just musically lifts you. Still love the song, it's just other songs came along. But going back to it now, we wondered, did we optimize it quite as much as we could have? Because, when you get an early track, sometimes it's hard. You think, you live with it for 2 years and you kind of get a bit used to it. So, but listening to the album now is track 7 or 8, I think, where it really, really kind of just bangs in, and it feels like I'm in an indie disco in 1986 trying to dance very badly.